And joining us in Studio B this morning is City Councilman Andrae Gonzales. We're going to dive a little deeper into this proposed purchase. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Good morning.
Okay, so we're going to be at the crunching numbers, obviously, seeing if this whole thing works or whatnot. But if you could, just how did this whole thing start, in a short version, how did this whole thing start?
Yeah, well, we learned that Crystal Palace was for sale like everyone else at the same time. I actually made a referral at the City Council dais that we provide some sort of incentive to a third-party private buyer to maintain the property the way it is. You know, it's a great tourist attraction. It's part of our city's history. It's part of our community's culture, and so it's worth preserving for a lot of reasons. And so it became clear to me that we had to provide incentive. But as time went on, we learned that there were very few interested private buyers. And so Councilmember Bob Smith actually and some others started raising the question, maybe we should actually look at purchasing the property as a city and turning it into an event space, a venue, entertainment venue, similar to what we have at Rabobank Arena and our theater.
Now, when you take a look at those two things, you were telling me that the numbers are coming back in the black for the arena the last few years.
Yeah,
under ASM.
Absolutely. ASM has done a tremendous job. You know, our arena is over 25 years old now, and over the last 3.5 years, it has actually turned a profit for the city to the tune of several $1 million. And so those are dollars.
Where does that? I was about to ask you, where does that money go?
Those are dollars that go back to the city.
Okay.
And we put it in a fund that then we use for types of projects that are similar to purchase of the Crystal Palace. So
because as people know, the city owns properties around town and whatnot. You own several. So not only the arena, but the B of A building. What intrigued you about that?
So the B of A building is kind of a different scenario in that we have currently office space that we lease as a city. And we spend about $500,000 annually in leasing office space. If we can take all of those folks who are in lease space and put them in the B of A building, we can save $500,000 a year. Plus add the revenue that the B of A is currently generating, about $1.5 million annually from the current tenants. Then the numbers start to make sense to actually purchase the property. We can probably finance it and actually see us pay that building off fairly quickly.
You know, Christian Clegg, obviously his staff going to be putting together proposals and crunching numbers. You've got that situation going on there in a time of tight budget constraints, obviously, anyway. What's it going to take? What kind of proposal is going to have to be put in front of you for you to say that one does make sense and we should move forward?
Great question. So number one, I do not support us using general fund dollars, locally generated tax dollars to pay for the Crystal Palace. I think that we need to really get serious about what we're using our general fund and PSVS for, and those have to do with vital services, public safety, and other core services of the city. But we do have this revenue from the arena, and the profits that are generated. We also have transit occupancy tax. These are dollars that are paid for by visitors to our community through a tax on hotel stays. Those are dollars that we should actually be investing on projects that generate more tourism, like the Crystal Palace purchase. And if you can imagine it, it creates this virtuous cycle, right? You actually invest in tourism, you invest in tourist attractions, if you will. You can actually generate more visitors, which generates more TOT, which then in the future gives us the capacity to invest even more in quality of life projects and other investments in the city. That's the way we should start thinking about this. Bakersfield is a mid-sized city now. We're growing. And if you look at cities across the country, wonderful, great cities have attractions, have quality of life amenities, have assets that are compelling, that are interesting, that are wonderful to enjoy, and I think Bakersfield deserves that as well.
Andrae Gonzales, City Council member, thank you for coming in. I know that we're just taking the very first step in a long process.
Just a conversation.
But appreciate your comments.
All right, thank you.
All right.